So let's walk up this hill again. Luckily, I am not Sisyphus. And I have no literal rock that I have to push up the hill. Sisyphus, that's some kind of Greek stuff. Instead, I walk up with the weight of the world on my shoulders. Because I do think that I'm responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for my role in the world. And that I'm responsible for other people, really. I gotta be careful in here. It's all full of holes. God damn it. I could easily sprain my ankle in here, but that's the risk you take if you live a life where you're always hiking. Let's talk about the frustrations you have. In this case, I'm thinking of a guy who posted online that he wanted to create an intentional community. He wants to get people together to live in a better way. And he wrote a nice, long post, which is always good, about how we could live better, how we could be better people. But, as people respond, me too, and I want that too, and all that, his primary thing was he's gathering people for a stone soup project. A project where, the story of stone soup, right? Some guy shows up with a stone and puts it in a pot and says, let's make a soup out of this stone. And everybody brings a little bit and they put it in the pot. And it becomes this big pot of soup that everyone can eat from. Great story. That's not how shit's working out for intentional communities. Because most of the people looking for them, seeking them out, are bringing nothing. They want everybody else to do it. And I was thinking, what would I advise this guy? Because, he cares about his future and realizes he's alone and has no resources. And he lives in a society in which it's been designed to keep him that way. It's a very difficult problem. It's not new. And my first thought is, you've already failed. Because you can't build something from nothing. And if the 90% of people who want to make a community all want to take, they want to eat the soup, but they have nothing to bring to it, and they don't want to even work to bring anything to it, then you've already failed. It's a sad thing. And I understand you'd like to escape from the world as it is. Me too, I suppose. Definitely. So I'm on board, I'm sympathetic, or I wouldn't be recording this video. And so I was thinking about that since I saw it yesterday. And thinking, well, there are some options. First of all, you're going to have to exclude a bunch of people. Most of them. Because they don't want to provide even labor. They think that they inherently deserve to have everything for free. This is a general socialist problem. Like food, housing, all this shit should be free. But when you're suggesting that, what you mean is other people should have to do work to provide you shit for free. And that's not going to work. Fails every fucking time. So, one thought is, in the existing world, which won't exist forever, civilization will fall, etc., most people will probably die. each person has to be figuring out what can they offer. And it shouldn't be Reiki or some pseudo-spiritual bullshit or life coaching or other useless things. There have to be a lot of people who move atoms. They move matter. They build. And there's people like me with land who would love to share it if I had the right people. It'd be really cool. The right people are hard to find. And people understand that. People who have put all their life into risking everything they can for idealistic goals. And in my case, I've hosted tons of people, but found that it's a net loss. And you even look at, things like the farm, right, which is a existing intentional community. They had 1,500 people at one time. And they had to eventually make the big change. And they got rid of 90% of those people. They went down to 150 people. Because you have to have an income. You have to have business ideas and business practices that cause value to occur. So, with this guy in particular, he really wants to start from nothing. And so, the question is for every single person that's interested that he should have is, well, what are you going to create? What services do you provide that have real value? And have a dozen or more business plans on how to attract value. Perhaps he should be looking for people who can work online, who can bring financial resources in and are willing to share them into building infrastructure, building those businesses. And they can not just do it for themselves, but they can do it for other people around them. Now I have a lot of thoughts about, raising chickens and rabbits and food forest farming and rain capture and living on less and having composting toilets and all these things that make it so that we don't live the wasteful world that the industrial world provides. That's a good thing. It's a good start. And a lot of people you gather will be damaged people. I guess we're all damaged people in some way. I know I certainly am. Fuck this hill. This hill is like an allegory for trying to accomplish this goal. And so you then pick the people who don't think that they deserve everything for free, that they're magically valuable just because of their demographic or any other reason. And they think about how can they support these business plans, these ways to create money in a transitional period before collapse, and then invest that in the land so that they can actually survive, Some of those business plans don't require a lot of infrastructure to start with. And theoretically, everybody who's expressing interest in this plan has some resources to survive because they're currently alive. But they're going to try and mostly withhold those and give as little as possible and take as much as possible. You have to filter all those fucks out. Which is difficult because successful people don't want to give their shit away. That's how they got successful in most cases. Maybe they have generational wealth. Maybe they, if you're lucky, they have actual skills. They have actual things to offer. Because you're going to need builders, planters. You're going to need people who can do geek stuff for the transitional period. You know, maybe you want to be developing apps. Maybe you want to be making websites. Maybe you want remote work with big corporations that pay way too much. It's all good shit. But you got to figure out some kind of good shit, or you have failed already. And you got to wonder about this guy, of course, just like you got to wonder about me. Like, you know, you don't want to trust people. I don't. How are you going to filter them out? How can you tell the difference between somebody who's coming into your organization, your group, to really destroy it? And there's very few people who actively want to destroy it, but there's some. There could even be people who join the group specifically paid to destroy it. Yeah, you look up like Quanto Pro and stuff like that. So if you're doing anything of use and good, there's going to be people whose job it is to destroy you. How do you filter them out? And how many people can you really collect that have no resources and have it work out? Very few. And you could certainly imagine like a community of homeless people. I mean, that's a good example that we can work from. People who have no home and no resources. How can you use them to then build something sustainable? I think it's possible, but you're going to have to make some social agreements. So one of the harder topics right off the bat is deal breakers. People that are not acceptable to you. And that will attract the right people to you if you're willing to exclude those other people. Let's just go with pedophiles, for example. Right? Not a popular group. And I would extend that to people who, you know, they want to promote underage marriage. I think that's a good thing to not have be part of your thing. You've seen many cults that have formed that had a lot of that, and those didn't do that well. It's, you know, you don't want to be in legal conflicts with the state. So other people say, well, let's grow a lot of drugs. And it's like, well, depending on your jurisdiction, that's probably a very bad idea. And any jurisdiction that has legalized certain drugs has also regulated the fuck out of them to make sure that it's not profitable. And so even in jurisdictions where you've legalized drugs, which sound like they're profitable, you'll find they're not that profitable unless you're paying the state a huge amount of money, because they didn't really fully legalize. They deregulated and controlled. So, and you probably shouldn't have your community be based on a lot of illegal activity. And I know that works for biker gangs and various cults and things, but it's not a good idea. I mean, even Ted Kaczynski, if you read his books, suggests that that's not a good idea, which is a little bit ironic, but that's fine. He's right about a lot of stuff, by the way. Check his shit out. Oh, man. I really got to build like places to rest on the way home, although resting is for the weak. So also you got to look for people who are hardcore and they're really dedicated to being focused on something for quite a while. I hosted before a lot of really short-term people whose main goal was to just travel for free. Those are not good people to recruit, even though they're very nice people. So you're going to want businesses that serve who? Well, the best thing to do is to serve businesses that are further away from you, because probably you bought, if you're going to get together and buy some land, you're buying some land that's relatively cheap, hopefully with no cell phone service and fairly difficult to live on. Although you better have rain capture, because you're going to need water. Water is as important as food. A lot of people talk about, oh, let's grow our own food. Well, let's talk about water then, and let's talk about the seasons, and learn what a Köppen climate zone is. That's Koppen, climate zone. And figure out, like, can you survive there when there's no outside services at all? Because you can't trust those, especially if you can't pay for them. And if having outside services also invites in a lot of regulation, then that's a huge problem as well. So if you want freedom, you're going to have to go a little harder core. Your filtering process, it's not as easy as just figuring out which 5% of the people are sociopaths. You're going to have to figure out which people are kind of lightning rods for conflict, which people always think about themselves and don't have empathy for others, which people are just fucking idiots, because there's plenty of them. Believe me, there's lots. And those small percentage of people will cause you most of your problems. So, how are you going to do that? Well, I do have some thoughts about that, like having people fill out forms and having reputation tracking and having people enter into communities and then be vetted. Because, you don't just go out there online and say, hey, I'd like a bunch of new friends. Because 90% of those new friends are friends you don't want. How do you vet them? Well, a bunch of them are anonymous, right? And if they're not willing to make a video, it could be a private video, unlisted, talking about how they fit in with your values, what they offer, what their costs are. And that should be a real question, is like, what do you cost? Because I get messages from people who are quite old and they're looking for a free place to live. They want some love. They want some caring. But they're not going to pay for like a retirement home. They just want to be a good person who's magically somehow so valuable that everybody else works for them and they don't have to pay anything. That's not going to work either. And I'm not saying all old people are bad. Some of them are very useful. Well, I know a lot of shit. I mean, I'm no spring chicken myself. But I know that what I bring to the table is a place, a forest, that's massive. And it would be so easy to attract tons of people here to take. I've already done it. And, they want to be in charge. They want to have an equal vote. And it's like, no, you don't get a fucking equal vote on something you haven't created. Not going to work out. So, unfortunately, you got to quit your idealistic hippie shit, and you got to exclude some people. Most of them. Here, I have goals. Big goals. I want to raise chickens again and rabbits. I want to make more products. I want to collect creative people and nice people. Some people just aren't nice. Some people are lying fuckwads. You look at people who always have a conflict with the person of the other gender. They hate women, they hate men. Okay, just cut all them out right away. They hate somebody because of their race. Cut them all out. And it's not just white people who are bad. It's everybody. So people of color aka anti-white, have to be vetted as well. That when they have conflicts with people, they don't attribute that to race, because you are not responsible for what your ancestors have done. And everybody, regardless of color, their ancestors have done horrible things. You know, I've talked to people who claim to be indigenous, but way back, they invaded an area and they took it over. Because that's what's happened everywhere. Asia, Europe, the Americas. Am I missing somewhere? I've never been to Australia. I don't know a lot about Australia, but obviously there have been some big issues there. You know, this shit's not hard to look up. So, you know, and there's other people, they hate people because of their sexuality. And it's like, fuck all that shit. If it's consensual, then really, is it any of your business? I don't think it is. You know, if you're not in the bed, you don't get to really decide what other people are doing. And, you know, I would like to get rid of all consensual violations, non-consensual violations, because that's one of the things that fucks up the genders. But that also means that there can't be big economic differences between people in the community. There can't be people who are trapped there. They're trapped in the community. This is true for even couples, right? If you have a couple and one partner has more money than the other, then it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be abusive. But the likelihood of things being kind of fucked up is pretty high. And of course, I've been in those relationships. You know, I don't think I've been in a relationship where... I have been. I have been in a relationship where the woman had a lot more money than me. She was the stingiest person I ever met. It was embarrassing. And I never took anything from her. I don't do that kind of thing, but... you know, and I'm happy for her. That's not the problem. The problem isn't that she has money. The problem is that a lot of people, when there's an economic difference, will use that to abuse people. So there's issues there. So as this person posted, right, that they want to get together a bunch of people with no resources and then create something, that's a great idea. I'm all for it. Those business plans matter a lot. To create businesses, to evaluate each potential member and say, what can you provide? And how can that create income for us? You know? And I don't even think that anybody in a community, at least not one that I want to be involved with, should take any public money. None of them should be on welfare. There's been whole cults and stuff where they all, you know, just living on welfare. That's a bad idea, obviously, but it does work for some people, not for me. And I don't want to attract people who are too rich if they think they're better, but attracting people who are rich, because rich people are not inherently evil, right? Like, I'm rich by world standards and very poor by lifestyle standards, right? I live on far less than most of the people who even responded to that post. But I have land, and I know how to live really cheap. I've been living cheap for 20 years, and I don't expect much from anyone. I live on donations because people like my philosophy and the things that I produce. If you're a person who likes what I'm saying, donate to me to keep me alive, please. But, you know, I've never even asked a single person for donations directly. You know, some of my donors are people who do know me, and they somehow appreciate my existence, and so they do donate. Or they like what I've written, or the videos I've made. And that's been really cool, actually. I gotta watch out for rattlesnakes in here. Never know where there's a snake. Hi, honey. Oh, look, my good dog is coming up here. Hi, you good dog. Oh, there's the other good dog. I've been wondering where these guys were since yesterday. Why do you make that noise? You have food. Do you have water? I'll go check their water. Everything here is so messed up. Like, I've let things just slowly fall apart. And that's one of the reasons I care about this issue, is because when I was rich, I had lots of people just come either cheap or for free. And I will call volunteers coming for free. They value their work as hugely valuable. No. Most volunteers are a net loss. And you'll find that out if you have the delusion of creating a community based on volunteer labor. Maybe 5% of volunteers are good. But most of them, they need time, attention, housing, food. And they're kind of demanding, and some of them want to be in charge, you know, because they're so great. And they're not so great. So back to the topic, how does this guy succeed? He has to set up a big filter. And I don't know how to do that, because a lot of people have anonymous profiles and they don't have a reputation. They don't have any way to check up on them. You can do a background check, and you know, in the past I found out that one guy had murdered and raped a chick, and he was traveling around looking for a community, and I barely found out who he was. It was because one person posted his real name. He was using a different name, and so, oh God, shade. And so I figured out who he was, luckily, because I was already burned out on having people here anyway, and I didn't want him here. And there's other people like that, and they're sociopaths who are just traveling around looking for victims. So you're going to have to figure out some real smart ways to avoid them. Hi, doggies. I guess I should make sure they have water. Except I have no water because my generator is broken. The one I can pump water with. And so I'm kind of screwed, actually. And I can't pick up things that are heavy because I'm kind of weak by comparison to what I used to be. They do have water elsewhere, and there's another building I can walk down to and pour them some water there, but it's difficult. Anyway, there's some thoughts on why your intentional community is going to fucking fail. Probably. And maybe some notions on why it might succeed. Like, what could you do that would make it work? Good luck to all of you people who have no resources looking for a place to be. Most of you will die. When civilization falls, you can scavenge a little bit. But most people, including myself, won't make it. I'm not even prepared enough. So, you know, look into survival issues and how to attach yourself to a group, how to form a group that is prepared. Because you got to worry about security. You got to worry about the values of the people that you think you know. And don't trust anybody, that's for sure. Not that that's going to get you that far. Because I don't trust anybody, and that's not a good strategy either. Good luck to you.